Hey everyone, welcome to another macro photography video. So for this video I'm in Canada again, but actually in Ottawa this time. And today I've come out in the morning to a spot called Mud Lake Conservation Area, which is quite a well-known, mostly birding and wildlife hotspot, not quite central, but it's very much surrounded by city here in Ottawa. And I thought it would be cool to come here and mostly focus on the insects and spiders and other small animals and just see what's around here of these kind of more overlooked species that are maybe not quite as well known from this location, since I think looking at the habitats it could be quite good for insects, maybe dragonflies, damselflies too. Yeah, let's see what I can find. Alright, so the first thing I found is this harvestman of some sort, and this seems to be a fairly common species. I've seen them a few times on this trip already, but I haven't gotten too many photos, so I'm going to try and get a quick stack of this one since it's staying quite still. And let me just find the subject. That looks pretty good. And then get a quick stack. While looking along the plants on the side of the path here, I've found an insect that I don't actually photograph very often, even though they're quite common, which is a caddisfly. Caddisflies are actually, I know them more from their larvae, which the larvae of caddisflies build these really cool cases out of dead plant material or raw small pebbles and stones, or even certain species actually build it out of empty snail shells. But caddisfly larvae are aquatic, but when they come out, they are also quite interesting looking as adult insects. So I'm going to try and get a quick stack of this one, if it stays put, and then let's see how it looks. Alright, so I've entered a bit more of a forested area, and on the side of the path there's quite a few logs that are just lying around on the ground. And I've gone with quite a common technique of mine for finding insects and finding subjects in winter, which is just looking underneath a log to find soil animals. But actually it works quite well in summer too. I just find that I don't tend to look under logs for soil animals quite as much in the summer because there's so much other stuff around. But I thought I would have a look here, and I found a species that's actually quite common in Germany as well, which is a springtail in the genus Tomoceros. So I'm just going to get a quick stack of this, not bother with taking the Laowa 25mm out since I photograph this species quite often, but just to show you what they look like, I'll get a little stack right now. And as always, what's important when you're looking for stuff under logs, just carefully roll it back exactly where it was before. You might think that this will crush the things that are underneath. Most insects will be completely fine because they're so small and usually already in spots where they were protected, where there's a little bit of air. The one time I would say it's good to move subjects a little bit out is if you've got something like little amphibians or something like that underneath a log, to just carefully move them out to the side, roll the log over, and then place them just underneath, and that way they'll be safe as well. Underneath another log I found a whole lot of woodlice, which I mostly haven't really bothered photographing because they're just such a common subject for me, especially in winter. But there's one here that is a very, very young juvenile, which means it's still almost entirely just white, and I'm just going to get a quick little stack because it's on a very dark background, which makes it stand out quite a bit. There's a really nice contrast. So I'm going to go for this stack here. And then also underneath the same log, I've just noticed a harvestman actually as well. And this is, I'm not exactly sure on the species. This might be a similar species to what I have in Germany, but I'm going to also get a stack of this one. I might go for a top-down first and then maybe a portrait afterwards. Let's see. But yes, this top-down also, often for things underneath logs, gives kind of a nice textural image when you stack to get the whole thing in focus, and it really brings out all these details and textures. Let's see how this looks. Actually, also under this exact same log as the last two subjects, I found one of my very favorite groups of arthropods, which are pseudoscorpions. And this one is very active, so I'm just going to go for single shots. I've lowered my burst rate a little bit, and I'm shooting at a higher aperture to get a bit more in focus for the single shot. And then I'm just going to take quite a few options, and I can pick out the very best ones at the end. So right here on the underside of a leaf on the side of the path, I've spotted, maybe you can almost see it in this wide shot, but I'll show a closer clip, this white hairy caterpillar of some sort. And this is a very cool looking species. Again, I've seen quite a few of them around in this area on the trip. And in this case, for a photo, you'd think it might be obvious to take a photo just from the side or from the top to show the whole pattern. And of course, I think that could look quite cool. But what I think in this case will show the behavior a little bit better. So if I actually shoot from the top of the leaf, you can just see the head of the caterpillar, the front end, peeking out from under the leaf where it's been eating away at the edge. So you can kind of see the shape of the leaf where it's eaten away, and then the head of the caterpillar peeking out with some of the white hairs. And I think that composition will show the behavior a little bit better and just be a little bit more interesting and unique than if I just went for a simple photo of the caterpillar. And I think this is always worth keeping an eye out for these a little bit more creative, unique compositions than just a plain shot of the subject that show the behavior a little bit better. So of course my main focus is macro photography, but since this is such a kind of well-known bird spot, I thought it would be fun to do a little bit of bird photography as well. And I've been able to borrow this Sony a7R5 and 200 to 600 millimeter lens just for this walk to get a few bird photos with it. So I'm going to be experimenting with that a little bit just for fun. And of course a lot of the birds that I find will probably be the most common everyday birds for any of you who come to this spot regularly or live anywhere in this area. But for me, although I have done a little bit of bird watching whenever I've come to Canada to visit family, a lot of them are a little bit more interesting, so I'll be kind of getting photos of whatever I can find, and maybe I'll be able to get a few interesting photos if something comes close. That's the nice thing here, because it's a very urban park and there's a lot of photographers here regularly and just people walking here regularly. A lot of the birds are quite trusting of humans, so maybe I can get quite close for some photos. Let's see. There's a yellow warbler in there. It's a bit difficult to reach through the branches, but I might be able to get a good angle. There it is. So now I'm in this sort of scrubland habitat, and there's quite a lot of little songbirds here. I've gotten some photos like you saw of two yellow warblers and even of a cardinal, though that was quite far away. There's a few other species floating around. I've been hearing a catbird, which sadly I haven't gotten good view of to our photos, and of course the ever-present chickadees. I'm just going to walk back along the stretch. Maybe I'll see something else. Otherwise, I'll head back to where the pond is to hopefully get a few water birds. So there's a green heron, juvenile, quite far off in the swamp, so it's a bit too far to get any really good photos, but still a cool species to see. And I'll keep trying, maybe I can get at least kind of an ID shot to show you. They're very, very cool looking birds. I've gotten a bit closer to the heron here, so I can maybe get slightly better pictures. I wasn't able to get any at the spot before. That looks decent. He's looking away. There. Cool. They're such cool birds, herons. And the wood ducks have come right up to me to say hello. Actually, a bit too close for me to focus. That's unfortunate. There. Alright, so that was quite a nice walk in this really nice area, especially considering it's quite surrounded by city. I found a few bird species that are quite exciting for me. Obviously they're pretty normal here, and I really enjoyed using this lens and camera for bird photos, which is a bit of a sort of vein of kind of photography that I haven't done as much recently. I hope I got some good macro shots at the beginning too, you'll see, and there's generally, I've been seeing quite a few insects around even later now that I've been more focused on birds. So yeah, I hope that our photos turn out well. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one.